MCC Island has just released its major update 0.3.0, adding 2 new maps, lots of new incentives to explore the hub area, as well as lots of new changes across its various games. The first new map is called Grasslands for Sky Battle, which is the whole idea of is just that you travel towards the center going downwards instead of upwards as you do on Celestial. Um, Another change in this map is that there's a purple chest in the spawn islands alongside the 4 starting chests, making this overall, I believe, will be a much faster paced experience compared to the other maps. The next new map is for Hole in the Wall, called High Rise, and this is basically a city-themed map. I will go more into why there are new maps for Hole in the Wall and what changes this brings to Hole in the Wall once we get to the game changes overall, because it at a first glance it doesn't really make sense that there's a new map for Hole in the Wall, but it does make sense with the changes they're doing to Hole in the Wall. Next up is the changes to the hub. There are a lot of cosmetics that are no longer given by default, unless they're obtained through the web store, of course, and these free cosmetics can be found around the hub by talking to new vendors. If you logged in before the patch, you don't have to go find these vendors to claim them, but it's still fun to go find and hunt down all the cool NPCs. There's a lot of secrets on the island. I'll do a video on that soon if you subscribe. As well as there are also certain NPCs that will now give one-time gifts when you explore the hub, such as the tellers at the coin sink will give a free medium currency pouch to welcome them to the server. The Robbers Guild, which is this screenshot here, has a golden customization kit for players as a thanks for continuing to ignore their activities. Next up is the faction creators. Each have a crafting component for their faction's corresponding chroma frameworks to encourage players to wear their color. So you'll get crafting ingredients to craft chromas to match your team colors. Cool. There's also a new hidden vendor, which is actually not new. If I switch over to this Minecraft, there is Jofio here, who will sell a halo. There's also new hairstyles for players to change up their appearance. A friend of his, a venerable beard guru, might also be found somewhere else in the island, so another new vendor to look out for. Curly hair is now a hairstyle that must be purchased. Bun, ponytail, and undercut styles replace it as default. Requests for hot dogs to be sold in the hub have been heard. Frank's now sells the hot dog accessory. Additionally, burgers can be bought from Burgers But Fast, and the ever-elusive burger head might be purchased from them as well. These items have been removed from the gourmet living crates as they will always be available to purchase with coins at these locations. Next up, some general changes to MCC Island is that the player icon on the boss bar and scoreboard on Sky Battle and Battlebox are now colored based on the team color. Coin, gem, and champion score gain animations now update the values in the action bar in real time. Fix the party invite message to make it in sync with all other invite messages. Creepers and TNT now correctly deal damage, even after the player that spawned them has died. Players get a bonus 25 game tokens for the first 3 games of each type they play each day, which means you get at least 75 tokens if you play every game 3 times every day, which is meant to make the legendary cosmetics slightly easier to get. It'll still take like a while to get them, but they're easier to get now. Sky Battle and Battlebox. Offhand behavior. Fixed a bug where orbs and sparks would fire at the same time as your offhanded item. Nice, nice. The health value displayed above player names is now always rounded upwards, so you will never see a player with 0 health, basically. The highest it'll be is 0.5. And if you see a player with 2.0 health, you can guarantee that 2.0 damage will be enough to kill them, essentially. Game tokens are now given through criteria identical to faction XP, which is by individual placement with a bonus for every kill. Next up, Sky Battle specifically, game changes, is that all players now start with leather leggings and boots as starter armor to help give better initial protection, especially against axes. Wooden swords with knockback 1 have been changed to stone swords with knockback 2, making them a slightly more viable weapon. Red House, the distance between all islands has been increased by a few blocks. Houses closer to the center of the map have been given more structure at their base to give more options for teams not on the roofs. So you have more rooms in the actual rooms of Red House. And also more of the windows are open, so you can get into those areas faster. The changes to Candyland, in the mid-ring, berries on top of the donut have been flattened and platforms have been widened at the rings and cupcake towers. Like Celestial, Candyland now has a floor border that will rise, which is very lenient and will only hinder players that are constructing very low down. And on Celestial, the top barrier has been lowered. However, the roof border has also been removed, and as well as game tokens are now given through criteria identical to faction XP. Same changes, that just repeating the same thing that was said in general across each game. That'll be repeated. Next up is the changes to Battlebox, which is the first of which and the most significant of which, in my opinion, is definitely that the capture point is now locked for the first 10 seconds of the round, so you can no longer have people wall rush or create in the first 10 seconds of the round. Please don't call it wall rushing, this isn't Hypixel, by the way. The concrete cannot be broken until this 10-second timer expires at the beginning of the game, which just makes it much more fair to players who solo queue and don't have the communications to rush in the first 10 seconds. It's a very difficult strategy to defend against without comms. In Paint Factory, they've removed unnecessary cover in the capture point area to make it more open, raised capture point to provide better cover, and expanded the lower defense. And in Mine, they've closed up the center of the upper tunnels, which were accessible using a Spark of Levitation. This defines them as more defensive areas for the team spawns rather than controlling mid. And also, they've tweaked which team colors show up in Battlebox to avoid matchups between similar colors, which is great because I've definitely had the confusion before where I see an enemy and I think, hey, that's my color. Wait, no, that's a slightly different shade of, like, blue or whatever, like between aqua and light blue or whatever, or lime and green, stuff like that. So that's nice. Next up, the changes to get to the other side. The first modifier that's been changed is TNT time, which has been disabled on Beehive. 1 life. After dying on the 1 life modifier, you now spawn at a separate mid-air spawn point, so it's clear that you died. So no thinking that you respawned in 1 life mode anymore. And in red light, green light, they've increased the overall time when green and disabled it on Cliffs, Siege, and Badlands. And they've also changed how game tokens are distributed to make them similar to Faction XP. Not exactly the same, just similar. Their tokens are now given based on individual placement and as well as a bonus for larger lobby sizes and for successfully completing all 3 rounds. Next up, the changes to Hole in the Wall and why it makes sense that there's a new Hole in the Wall map. We're going full circle here. The new map, of course, High Rise, and basically wall sets are now tied to specific maps. Each map now has its own platform shape, which is shaped similarly to the wall set. The classic map, the original map, has classic walls and classic platform, the donut. The beach has snaky walls and a snaky platform, and High Rise now has hole punched walls and a holy platform. There are some screenshots of that kind of gives you an idea what that looks like up there. Some traps have also been adjusted to make it more fair. Matrix projectiles now move very slow, allowing you to dodge them and making it feel a lot more like the Matrix. Revenge has now had slimes reduced from 14 to 8. Hoglins have been reduced from 5 to 4, and the rate of sandfall during the sandfall trap has been reduced by 20%, as well as the standard game tokens change, making it identical to Faction XP, based on individual placement with a bonus for larger lobbies, and instead of receiving between 6 and 13 tokens, the range of tokens will now jump to 1 to 26 tokens based on your placement. As a final note, getting into MCC Island through buying the bundles is now easier than ever. If I go to the store right as the recording of this video, give it a second to load, go to bundles, and logged in as Steve, just as someone adding a bundle, it's not even sold out anymore. You can add it to cart. So if you haven't gotten into MCC Island yet, feel free to do so right now. If you have $15, easy as giving it to them. And that's it. Subscribe if you want a video exploring the hub area to show everyone where all the secret vendors and stuff are. See you next time, hopefully. Please subscribe, please.